To cure my husband's asthenia and make him a normal person, I gave him the only health-healing ability of the system. He vowed to cherish me for a lifetime, love and care for me, and never let me suffer any grievances. Later, when I had a heart attack, he and his assistant were hugging each other, playing bungee jumping, roller coasters, and all kinds of thrilling games. I was about to have a cardiac arrest when the doctor called my husband. He said indifferently, "If she dies, she dies. How much is her life worth?" At that time, he was busy celebrating his assistant's birthday, and I finally gave up on him. I silently thought to myself, "System, take back his health and healing abilities. He doesn't deserve them." My health gradually improved, while Soo-Young-chin's weakness flared up, begging me to save him. I lay on the cold operating table, surrounded by busy doctors trying to resuscitate me. I heard the doctor anxiously calling Soo-Young-chin on the phone. "Hello? Are you the patient's family? The patient's condition is not good right now. Please come to the hospital as soon as possible." I thought Soo-Young-chin would be anxious, worried, or even scared, but instead, I heard a mocking laugh in my ear. "If she dies, so be it. How much is her life worth? I'm busy right now. Don't bother me with such trivial matters." The system, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke up. "Host, Soo-Young-chin is currently celebrating his birthday with that little assistant. The system detects that his sincerity towards you has decreased. Was it really worth it to exchange your only health-healing ability for him back then?" Now, hearing about Soo-Young-chin's heartless actions again, I feel almost numb. After letting out a deep, long sigh, I said to the system, "System, stop maintaining Soo-Young-chin's healthy body. He doesn't deserve it." Upon hearing my command, the system replied with an excited tone, "Received, host, retrieving Soo-Young-chin's healthy body, then your heart condition will return to normal. This process will take 1 month. When the month is up, Soo-Young-chin will only be left with a ruined body." I let out a light laugh. "All right." After saying that, I fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up, I found myself lying in a hospital room filled with the smell of disinfectant. The patient in the next bed saw that I was awake and said to me, "Anan, you've made it through another day. The doctor just came in for rounds and said you're very strong." They were about to give up after nearly 20 minutes of resuscitation, but then your heartbeat suddenly returned. Weakly turning my head to look at my roommate, she was a thin and frail little girl. After I was admitted for a heart attack, it was her optimism that guided me through. I smiled and said, "Because you said that from the moment we are born. We must bravely fight against fate and never give in." After a week in the hospital, I was finally discharged. Returning to the villa, the courtyard was filled with blooming roses. The fragrance filled the air. Knowing that roses were my favorite, Soo-Young-chin had personally cultivated them for me, and roses also love fertilizer. Maintaining them requires a lot of effort, no matter how busy he was with work before. He always pruned and fertilized them himself. Now the roses are growing wildly, even stretching onto the cobblestone path. It looks like a messy, overgrown garden. Ding dong, my phone received a text message. I opened it and saw that Lin Yuro had sent me another update about her daily life with Soo-Young-ping. "Thank you for curing Ichin's illness. But so what? Now he will do everything I like for me. He went for an ice swim in the Arctic, and all the insurance companies sent people to try to dissuade him. But he just wanted to show me that he could do it, so he went down." The video showed Soo-Young-chin, shirtless, descending into the icy river. The biting cold made his body tremble uncontrollably, but he endured it, pouring out his heartfelt confession to Lin Yuro. "Ruru, for you, even if it costs me my life, I will do what you love. You love extreme challenges, and I will accompany you." After saying that, he took a deep breath and shouted, "Ruru, I love you." He pinched his nose and plunged his head into the icy river. As Lin Yuro's moved sobs echoed, "Woo-woo. Aiken, I love you too." Seeing this, my heart still involuntarily ached. "I risked my life for your health, and this is how you treat me, too." Soo-Young-chin and I have been in the same school since high school, and we were even desk mates. Back then, I had a weak heart and a solitary personality. He was the one who made me laugh when I was unhappy and gave me lots of snacks every day. When I was being bullied by the school bully, he walked over with a basketball and beat the bully up. And he declared his dominance on the spot. "My deskmate, how dare you bully her?" As long as I was his deskmate, he had my back. Even after we changed seats later on, he wouldn't allow anyone to lay a finger on me, making my entire high school life very happy and joyful. Later, after graduating from university, I heard he was sick, very seriously. I quit my job and rushed to take care of him, not minding his incontinence, like a personal maid attending to him when he was mocked by his family. I stood up for him and protected him, even as his parents gradually neglected him. At that time, he was fragile, sensitive, and irritable, and I told him over and over again that it would get better. Give him massages, insist on him exercising his limbs, and find him a famous doctor. In fact, at that time, I had long suffered from a heart condition. I accidentally bound a health system, and originally, I could have lived like a normal person, but I begged the system to make Soo Young-chin better. Host, my ability can only treat one person. If I give it to Soo Young-chin, your heart condition will relapse. I firmly replied, I am willing to give up my own treatment for Soo Young-chin. The system said helplessly, all right, I'll apply for a chance for you to reconsider. If you regret it later, just tell me, and I'll return the healing ability to you. I thought I would never need it in this lifetime, but I never expected to be proven wrong just 3 years after getting married. I took screenshots of all this information from Lin Yuro, sent her a thumbs down emoji, and blocked her. Enjoy your healthy lover while you can, for he will soon become a wreck, and I wonder if you'll still love him then. I called the maid over and said, take down all the decorations in the house and burn them. The maid asked in confusion, Madam, you arranged all these yourself, you even broke a bone trying to make the curtains look nice. Why do you want to burn them now? If the master has upset you, we can talk to him properly. They had seen Soo Young-chin bring Lin Yuro back many times, and they knew all too well. Could this matter really be discussed calmly? I didn't want to hear it and raised my hand to cut off the nanny's words, saying, I told you to take it down, don't you want your salary? The nanny stopped talking and called the other nannies to help take down all the decorations in the house. I had them pile everything up in the backyard and set it on fire. When I threw the wedding photo into the flames, the nanny seemed to want to say something but held back, but I was afraid of having my salary deducted, so I had no choice but to comply. I packed up all my belongings in the villa, burning whatever I could. A nanny secretly called Soo Young-chin, who responded with complete indifference. Let her burn it. Her little tantrums are nothing to me. When she runs out of money, she'll come crawling back to me. At the same time, a sum of 1 million was transferred into my bank account. The chat interface, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly lit up with his message. It was just a few simple lines. I'm working with my assistant. What kind of tantrum are you throwing now, if you want to burn it? Go ahead, I'm tired of the pink color scheme at home anyway. Let's change it to beige, white. It's Lin Yuro's favorite color. The clothes she wears, the bags she carries, even the car she insisted Soo Young-chin buy for her, all are white. In the past, I would have questioned everything thoroughly. No, I accept the money with a clear conscience. It's like payment for all the years I've taken care of him, feeling it was too little. I edited another message and sent it over. How can 1 million be enough? Transfer another 5 million. I need to completely renovate the house. No, my body is still very weak, and the system told me that it will take a month to slowly repair it. After finishing all this, I had long felt exhausted and went to the room to get some sleep. I don't know how long I slept, but I heard Soo Young-chin coming back, mixed with Lin Yuro's soft, gentle voice. Ah-chin, Sister Anin is still here. It's fine that you brought me back, but you can't touch me there. I'm ticklish. 3. A man's aggressive voice rang out. Don't talk. How dare a woman like her try to boss me around? Let me have a good. The bed suddenly sank, and I was jolted awake. I gasped, covered my chest, and turned on the bedside lamp. A man and a woman lay on the bed, both looking at me with dazed eyes. Lin Yuro's clothes had already been half removed by Soo Young-chin, his hands still resting on her chest. What they were doing was self-explanatory. Lin Yuro was the first to react, pulling her clothes back and hurriedly explaining, Sister Anin, it's not what you think. Brother Chin and I were just fooling around. Please don't misunderstand. A flicker of panic flashed in Soo Young-chin's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Instead, he wrapped his arm around Lin Yuro's slender waist and looked at me. What man doesn't have a few lovers? Don't be so petty. I've given you the position of Mrs. Soo, with all the wealth and luxury you could want, and a worry-free life for the rest of your days. What more could you possibly be dissatisfied with? His tone began to carry a hint of disdain as he said, for someone of your peasant background to have climbed up to someone of my status, it's a stroke of luck from your ancestors. Your position as my wife will never change, so you should be secretly delighted. A bitter smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Back then, when I took care of him while he suffered from myasthenia, he didn't speak like this. He said, what's the use of having so much money in this world? It's just a pile of worthless paper. Instead, I believe that having someone who genuinely cares for you is the true treasure in life. Even though I'm disabled, having you means I possess the most precious wealth in the world. He used to treasure me so much, and I was deeply moved by his affection, unable to control myself. Now he attacks me with cheap words, making me feel like I've been asking for trouble all these years. Without making a fuss, I reached out to Soo Young-chin and said, that's fine too, then please pay me another sum of money. This is the fee for me not causing a scene. Upon hearing that I was asking for money, his expression turned unpleasant, and he looked at me with a complicated gaze, after transferring the money to me, angrily saying, you're really obsessed with money. He pulled Lin Yuro out of the villa, heading to the seaside villa he bought for her to spend some quality time together. I was all alone in this empty villa. Soo-young-chin didn't even notice that many rooms were vacant, not even the nanny was around anymore, but none of that mattered anymore. On the third day, Soo-young-chin had an accident and was hospitalized. The system told me, host, a trace of healing ability has now returned to you. At the same time, Soo-young-chin has started experiencing intermittent symptoms. He will gradually feel his body weakening, but in the early stages, it will only be brief. It will take a full month before he completely loses his strength. I also noticed that I wasn't as exhausted today and could breathe much more smoothly. I went to the hospital to visit Soo-young-chin. Lin Yuro was leaning weakly by the bedside, her eyes red and swollen as she apologized. Ah-chin, it's all my fault for insisting on eating fresh sea urchins. If I hadn't wanted them, you wouldn't have dived down to get them for me. Luckily, there were professionals nearby, otherwise, I don't dare think about the consequences. Woo-woo. Soo-young-chin gently comforted her. Silly, I'm perfectly fine. It's just that my leg cramped up and I lost strength for a moment. Lin Yuro leaned happily into Soo-young-chin's arms. She also noticed my presence and gave me a smug smile. I let out a light chuckle. And at that moment, the doctor walked in, looking serious as he spoke to Soo-young-chin. Mr. Soo, your physical examination results are out. This time, you experienced drowning, not a cramp. I suspect that your previous myasthenia is starting to recur. For Soo-young-chin did not believe at all that his myasthenia had recurred. Angrily, he picked up the water cup on the table and threw it at the doctor's head. He said furiously, my myasthenia has already been cured. If you don't know how to diagnose, go apply for resignation with the hospital director tomorrow. The Soo family is an investor in this hospital. The doctor covered his injured forehead and left the ward without daring to say a word. Soo-young-chin saw me coming and didn't look pleased, saying, didn't you call me earlier saying you weren't feeling well? Why are you running around again? I watched the inseparable pair without saying a word. Soo-young-chin glanced up at me and then sighed, just behave and don't make a fuss. Come over and massage my legs. He spoke to me in the same gentle tone as before, but I replied with a hint of disdain. Taking care of you by massaging your legs and staying close is better left to your little lover. She'll be more willing to do it. Now that I see you're doing just fine, I won't disturb your alone time. My calm and uncomplaining demeanor actually made Soo-young-chin uncomfortable. He said to me, your massage skills can't compare to Yuro's anyway. Since you're not much help here and you want to go back, go to Chinji first and buy Yuro some breakfast. She likes the buns and soy milk there, making me, the original wife, go buy food for the mistress. This made me feel more and more disgusted with Soo-young-chin. Mom once said that once men become wealthy, their ambitions and desires all surge. Mom and Dad were once a couple that everyone admired, but later, Mom became a full-time homemaker for the sake of the family. After giving birth to me, who has a heart condition, he started staying out all night, and whenever Mom asked, Dad would get angry. You gave birth to a sickly child. If I don't work overtime to earn money for you and our daughter, are you going to make the money? Feeling guilty, my mother could only endure all the grievances, serve my father well, and focus on taking care of me at home. One night, my mother saw my father downstairs, holding a young girl as they went into the neighboring unit. From then on, my mother realized that my father wasn't working overtime to earn money at all. He had a mistress. In the end, my mother divorced my father, taking me with her and choosing to leave with nothing. She went to work alone to support us. When I was raised, my mother tried to stop me from quitting my job to take care of Soo-young-chin. You come from an ordinary background and have no special abilities. He only feels grateful to you for accompanying him during his low period and has some affection for you, but once he gets better and has everything, you'll become the woman who no longer excites him, and he'll start to look down on you. At the time, I disagreed with my mother's words, had a big argument with her, and even said many hurtful things to her. You can't always impose your own unhappiness on me. Just because you're not happy doesn't mean I won't be. We have each other, and he said I'm the only woman for him in this lifetime. I was wrong. Men are indeed scumbags, just as my mother said. I returned to my mother's house with millions in my bank card, and when she saw me, a flicker of excitement flashed in her eyes, but her tone was cold. Why have you come back? I'm very busy now and have no time to entertain the current Mrs. Soo. With red eyes and a choked voice, I cried out, Mom, I just wanted to come back to see you. Without me saying much, Mom knew I had been wronged. Sighing, she put down her handiwork and went into the kitchen to cook me a bowl of beef noodles, the kind I've loved since I was a child. Eating Mom's noodles made me feel a little better inside. After I finished eating, my mother said, Anin, I named you Anin because I hope you will be healthy and peaceful for your whole life. If you ever feel unhappy, come back to me. As long as I have something to eat, you won't go hungry or cold. That night, I nestled in my mother's arms, gnawing at the pain in my heart. On the surface, I always thought I was strong. If love is gone, it's gone. But when you truly let go, the pain in your heart is something you can't deceive yourself about. But Soo Young-chin, I really don't want him anymore. He makes me feel strange and disgusted. 5. I stayed by my mother's side for several days, keeping her company while doing crafts, going shopping to buy her clothes, and transferring all the money from my card to hers. On the 7th day, Old Lady Soo sent someone to call me back to the old house. When I arrived at the old house, Old Lady Soo grabbed my hand and said nervously, "Anin, you've finally come. Where is that famous doctor you hired before?" I comforted Grandma Soo, saying, "Grandma, what's going on?" After the famous doctor cured Young-chin, he disappeared, and I haven't been able to contact him either. This famous doctor was just someone I hired to act the part, in order to keep the fact that I have a system a secret. Otherwise, having a system is too bizarre, and there's no telling if someone with ulterior motives might take me away to harm me. But I'm not afraid of the Soo family finding someone. The famous doctor from before was someone I found through a medical family, but he had cancer. I gave him a sum of money, and he just played along with the act. Now, he has long since turned to dust. Old Mrs. Soo, looking worried, led me into the room. Soo Young-chin was lying in bed asleep, with one leg in a cast. She said, "I'm wondering if Young-chin's myasthenia has relapsed. Last time, I heard he suddenly drowned while diving. This time, he was driving himself and suddenly couldn't press the brake. His ankle had no strength, and he crashed into a streetlight. Fortunately, the car wasn't going too fast, or it wouldn't have just been a leg injury." Listening to Mrs. Soo's words, a flicker of emotion passed through my eyes, and then I spoke. "The famous doctor from before once told me that although the weakness syndrome has been cured, I shouldn't engage in overly stimulating activities, or it could cause a relapse." As I said this, the expressions of everyone present shifted, each harboring their own hidden thoughts. If Soo Young-chin were to fall back into his previous state of weakness, it would be uncertain who would end up in control of the company. Upon hearing that the famous doctor was nowhere to be found, Old Lady Soo's expression turned serious. In this household, Old Lady Soo was the one who treated Soo Young-chin the best. After her eldest grandson recovered from his illness, she single-handedly ensured that he took charge of the company. If Soo Young-chin were to revert to his previous state now, she would no longer be able to protect him. Suddenly, a commotion broke out outside, and Lin Yuro's voice could faintly be heard. "Let me in. I want to stay with Achin, please." Lin Yuro, with a pitiful look, ignored the butler's obstruction and insisted on seeing Soo Young-chin. Seeing her, Old Mrs. Soo angrily said, "Who do you think you are, daring to barge into our Soo family's old mansion? Carry her out and throw her at the door." I said from the side, "This is Young-chin's assistant." Old Mrs. Soo rolled her eyes and said, "An assistant not doing their job properly? Coming here to make a scene? What kind of behavior is that? Are the HR department just sitting around doing nothing? What kind of people are they hiring?" Just as the butler was about to drag Lin Yuro out, I was knocked to the ground. Soo Young-chin, disregarding his leg in a cast, hobbled out on crutches and pushed the butler away. He shouted, "Who allowed you to bully her? Let go, all of you." Lin Yuro delicately threw herself into Soo Young-chin's arms, crying uncontrollably, and said, "Ah-chin, I heard you were in a car accident. I was so scared." Woo-woo-woo. Soo Young-chin comforted the woman in his arms. Even though he could barely stand himself, he forced himself to hold on. "I'm fine, aren't I, silly girl?" The others present were unfazed. Only Grandma Soo became agitated. "Young-chin, how could you treat another woman like this in front of an? Do you even have any respect for your wife? If you act so impulsively, what will you do if your leg gets worse later?" Soo Young-chin said indifferently, "Grandma, what's the big deal? Jainanin is lucky to have married into our family. It's a blessing she earned over many lifetimes. How dare she have any attitude? Besides, it's normal for a man to have a passing fancy, and Grandma, my leg is just sprained. It's not a relapse of my weakness syndrome. Don't be so nervous." Old Mrs. Soo was trembling with anger, and seeing that she couldn't win the argument, she shut her mouth. I could clearly feel several hostile gazes fixed on me, filled with mockery and disdain. 6. I remember that in the first year after I married Soo Young-chin, I was once confronted by a young lady from a failed arranged marriage. They mocked me as a woman who couldn't hold her own in high society and even hired a few men to try to ruin my innocence. Soo Young-chin was the first to rush out and protect me before I encountered any danger, not allowing anyone to slander me. He was very concerned about my feelings, afraid that I might develop psychological trauma, and used some means to force the wealthy young lady who led the bullying to apologize to me, to serve as a warning to others. Later, Many people treated me with a certain level of politeness, but deep down they still looked down on me, only refraining from showing it openly out of respect for Soo Young-chin's reputation. Now, it's clear to anyone with eyes that I'm being neglected. Grandma Soo wanted to have a private talk with Soo Young-chin, and I overheard everything they said. Young-chin, Grandma knows you and like each other, but you can't treat her like this. If she gets hurt and leaves you, it'll be too late. Soo Young-chin said confidently, she won't leave me, I'll always be number one in her heart. Besides, I'm just having a bit of fun with that assistant. Grandma, don't worry about it. I twisted the hem of my clothes with my fingers, biting my lower lip as I thought, I put you first on the condition that you like me too. I aimlessly left the old house, returned to the villa, pulled out the rose bushes in the yard, and cleared away all traces of myself. I mailed the signed divorce agreement to the old house, packed my luggage, boarded a chartered bus, and went to live on the land I had bought earlier in the suburbs. I planned where to plant vegetables and which area to fence off for raising chickens and ducks. I also need to set up my own small office desk. I have some skills in rope weaving, so when I'm bored, I take on a few private orders, although it takes 1 or 2 days to complete one piece. I can still earn a few hundred yuan. At least enough to keep myself from starving. Just as I was living a leisurely life, Soo Young-chin called me. His tone was a bit panicked, and where are you? Why is there nothing of yours left at home? Didn't you say you were going to renovate? Is it because of Lin Yuro that you want to divorce me? Didn't you say you would never leave me? I said without any emotion, please sign the divorce agreement. I'm tired and don't want to act with you anymore. If you like novelty, I'll let you go and play, just leave me some peace. The other party refused without hesitation. Impossible, since you are my wife, there is no such thing as divorce, unless one of us dies. All right, since the divorce isn't happening, it doesn't stop me from wanting to live my own life. I hung up the phone without hesitation and went back to sketching the garden design. By the 3rd week, I felt much stronger physically, and the system allowed me to practice the 8 brocades exercises on weekdays. After the garden was mostly cleaned up, I brought my mom over. I wasn't surprised to see Soo Young-chin following me. He came in a wheelchair, looking much more haggard than before. The system said Soo Young-chin's symptoms would start from his legs, then move to his hands, and finally to his neck. And then, how could you just run off here without a word? If you like this rustic style, I could live here with you too. I smiled, with not a trace of emotion in my eyes, and said, but I don't like living with you. I think you're tainted. Soo Young-chin's eyes slightly reddened as he shook his head, maneuvering his wheelchair in front of me, trying to grab my hand, but I dodged it, and don't be like this. Lin Yuro and I were just a momentary impulse. I still like you, and now that my legs are a bit of a problem, I can't let my uncle know, so come back with me first, take care of me for a while, okay, once I'm better, I'll give you as much money as you want. 7. Soo Young-chin's uncle is eyeing the position of company chairman, just waiting for the day when Soo Young-chin steps down so he can take over. At this point, if Soo Young-chin were to call a doctor to examine his legs, the fact that he had an episode of weakness would be exposed. Now, he relies on the excuse of a previous car accident to use a wheelchair, even if he insists that he is only injured and not suffering from weakness. Everyone is watching his every move, I sneered and said, want me to help you with your bathroom needs again? I think Lin Yuro is more suitable than me. Why don't you ask her? Speak of the devil. Lin Yuro, dressed in a beige dress, ran over with a face full of grievance and threw herself onto Soo Young-chin's leg. She sobbed, Ah-chin, you can't drive me away. I want to be with you forever. Soo Young-chin pushed her away, turned to me, and explained, Anen, I've cut off all contact with her now. I won't have any more dealings with her in the future, and I've already fired her. Anen, will you come back with me? I really need you. Lin Yuro was unwilling to give up. She pleaded with Soo Young-chin, saying, Ah-chin, I can do everything Zhang Anen can do. Please don't fire me. Let me stay by your side. Okay, I promise I'll never ask you to do anything risky with me again. As she spoke, Soo Young-chin's expression grew even darker. He probably also blames the flare-up of his leg condition on Lin Yuro making him do those stimulating things. Realizing that Soo Young-chin's expression was not good, Lin Yuro crawled toward me on her knees, begging me, Anen, I beg you, I truly love Aiken. Could you let him be with me? Please stop bothering the two of us. Soo Young-chin scolded, Lin Yuro, shut your mouth. But because he could only move his upper body and was confined to a wheelchair, he was completely unable to move Lin Yuro now. I said to Lin Yuro, I've already sent the divorce papers to Soo Young-chin. He's the one who refuses to sign them. Take him away, make him sign, and don't come here to bother me. Upon hearing this, Lin Yuro quickly stood up and pushed Soo Young-chin away, no matter how much he tried to stop her. Watching the two of them leave, my mother came out of the house and said, Anen, it's time to eat. I smiled and said, coming, later. Soo Young-chin still signed the divorce agreement. When he called to harass me again, I threatened him, saying, "If you don't sign the divorce agreement, I'll spread the word about your relapse of impotence." Finally, he signed. A month later, when it was time to pick up the divorce certificate, Soo-young-chin did not come because he was now completely paralyzed, with only his head able to move, but he had a new assistant, who seemed to have been poached by old lady Sue at a high price and was very capable. He said to me, "The old lady misses you very much and hopes you can visit her more often when you have time. She also asked me to pass on a message. Mr. Sue is wrong to you, and she owes you a favor." I held the divorce certificate, pursing my lips without saying a word. At this point, hearing about him again didn't stir any emotions in me. I just felt a great sense of relief now that I had the divorce certificate in hand. The new assistant added that Assistant Lin was fired by Mr. Sue and blacklisted in the industry. She's not doing too well these days. I knew all of this was definitely something Soo-young-chin had instructed him to tell me, but I wasn't interested. I cut him off and turned to leave. All along, I have wanted to live a simple life, but for Soo-young-chin, I entered a wealthy family alone to take care of him. Taking care of someone who is completely weak is extremely exhausting, requiring constant presence by their side. Especially when I go out to wash Soo-young-chin's belongings, even the maids would look down on me for the unpleasant smell on me, and the children from wealthy families would see me. They would throw stones at me and set dogs on me, because I ran into those young ladies. They thought I was dirty and forced me to kneel and apologize, making me swear that I could never walk on the main path again and had to avoid them at all times. Soo-young-chin knew all about this. He was furious on my behalf. And whenever he saw me covered in bruises, he would say indignantly, "I must take control of the company. It was originally my father's business. Why should it be left to his siblings just because I'm sick? And then, you have to believe me. I will definitely give you a good life in the future." 8. Since he couldn't move his limbs, I became his hands and feet, bringing him company materials to read and accompanying him as he studied financial management. After learning about it, Mrs. Sue even specially arranged for someone to take care of Soo-young-chin. He worked tirelessly, studying from the moment he opened his eyes, and during that time, he used voice commands to develop plans, achieving impressive results. He also faced setbacks, but I knew he would eventually recover, because the system was gradually repairing his body. I encouraged him and patiently stayed by his side. Finally, he began to move and was able to walk on the ground, after becoming healthy. He took charge of the company with swift and decisive actions, gave me a grand wedding, and treated me exceptionally well. He would personally cook meals for me, plant the flowers I liked, and give me expensive gifts every month on holidays. Later, as my health gradually weakened, his attitude toward me slowly changed, and he even used those words to attack me. I've never understood how a person's heart can change so quickly. My mother and I live in this small world of ours. She does handicrafts, and I've taken on so many client orders that they're scheduled until next month. Although I have enough money to last several lifetimes, I still want to do something meaningful. However, less than a month into this peaceful life, old lady Sue brought Soo-young-chin to our doorstep. Although Soo-young-chin is now completely weak, he sits in a wheelchair and works by issuing commands through brainwaves and voice. He forcibly kept the company under his control, but this is not a long-term solution. His bladder muscles and sphincter have lost their ability to contract, causing urine and feces to leak out every minute and second. He wears diapers constantly to prevent the odor from spreading. He had to change to a new one every 2 hours and also needed to be cleaned thoroughly. Soo-young-chin would fly into a rage as soon as he noticed any sign of displeasure on the face of the person taking care of him. In just one short month, several groups of people had been replaced. Those who couldn't keep their mouths shut started complaining about Soo-young-chin's behavior. This made his temper even more explosive, so he begged old lady Sue to bring him to see me. As soon as he saw me, he earnestly pleaded with me, "Anin, my dear Anin, I was wrong to treat you that way before. I truly know I was wrong, terribly wrong. At the time, I just made the mistake that any man might make. Anin, can you give me another chance? I want you to come back to my side and take care of me again. I promise I will treat you wholeheartedly from now on. Let's remarry." And then, old lady Sue stood by, unable to say anything to help. At this moment, the mother could no longer hold back and stepped forward, shouting at Soo-young-chin, "What do you take my daughter for? When you needed her, you treated her with all kinds of kindness, making her whole heart devoted to you. After you gained everything, you looked down on my daughter and pushed her away. Now that you think only my daughter is good, you come back with these words. Are we such worthless people? Do we need to look up to a useless person like you?" Soo-young-chin could only roll his eyes, tears streaming from his sockets, as he confessed in remorse, "Mom, it's my fault for letting Anin down first, but after this incident, I realized how important Anin is to me. I thought Anin would never leave me. I just," Mom interrupted him. saying, "Just what? Just that you made a mistake only men make. Let me tell you, Soo-young-chin, stay away from my daughter, or don't blame me for getting physical, and don't call me mom. Hearing that from your mouth makes me sick." Granny Sue sighed and said to Soo-young-chin, "Chin-chin, go back, you're pretty much done for now. I think it's best to let your uncle take care of the company, you just focus on recovering, don't worry. As long as I'm here, no one will bully you, okay?" Soo-young-chin shouted loudly, "No, Grandma, please, let me talk to Anin a bit more. Anin, I've wet myself again, I feel so uncomfortable, can you come help me? Didn't you say you couldn't bear to see me like this?" Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I scooped up water from the nearby water jar and splashed it on him, saying without any emotion, "It's disgusting, stop making me sick here. If you want to clean up, go home and do it." Then I turned to Grandma Sue and said, "Grandma, I know you've always been very good to me, and I've always thought of you as my own grandmother, but I want to cash in on the favor you said you owed me last time, which is to make sure Soo-young-chin never comes looking for me again. I want to live a peaceful life." Grandma Sue sighed repeatedly, agreed to my request, and had someone push Soo-young-chin away. 9. Soo-young-chin's epilogue. I never expected my asthenia to flare up again, and at the same time, I lost Anin, the woman I love most. Only after she left did I realize how important she is to me. I regret that when I was healthy, I pushed my body too hard, and now I've returned to that dreadful state. After Grandma pulled me back home, she hired nannies to take care of me, but I didn't like the way they looked at me. Their eyes were full of mockery and gloating. They deliberately used scalding hot water to wash me, secretly took photos of my body, and complained about me to others. There was even a clueless old nanny in her 50s who climbed into my bed in the middle of the night. Her disgusting body wreaked havoc on me, but aside from being able to move my eyes, I didn't even have the strength to speak. I couldn't complain to my grandmother. Every time the assistant came to check on me, that old nanny kept saying I was fine. I wanted to convey a message to the assistant, but he showed no sign of noticing. That old nanny deliberately provoked me by telling me about Anin's recent life. I looked at the updates she posted, where she had filled her yard with roses and hydrangeas, and was raising many little dogs. Her smiling face showed a joy and happiness I rarely saw, until later, when I saw another man appear in her writing, I went mad with jealousy, envying that man for being able to get close to my Anin. Seeing me like this, the nanny only got more excited. She was just a pervert. She even deliberately hired paparazzi to secretly photograph Anin's condition. She went shopping hand in hand with that man, kissed him on Valentine's Day, and wore the engagement ring he gave her. She smiled so happily, while my eyes welled up with bitterness. Why, back when she was with me, taking care of me, she used to smile so happily. Later, her expression turned cold, and I lost her. I begged the old nanny to stop showing me, but she was determined to torment me. I wanted to die, but couldn't, and was tortured every day. A few years later, my grandmother passed away, and my uncle truly took control of the company. I was thrown out of the old house I had lived in since childhood. After the old nanny ran out of money, she abandoned me and never showed up again, just as I was on the verge of starvation. A family of 3 passed by me. The little girl ran over with a piece of bread, shouting, "Mom, this beggar looks so pitiful, is he starving?" The girl placed the bread into my mouth, but I couldn't chew it. I looked up, wanting to see the kind-hearted girl. Anin's figure suddenly came into view, and I grew excited. The girl was frightened by me, and Anin ran over to hug her, lingling, "Don't be afraid, Mom and Dad are here." I watched as Anin looked at me with disgust, and the man protectively led the mother and daughter away, gradually disappearing into the distance. The heart lost its ability to beat. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Summer vacation arrived, and my boyfriend decided to go work at a construction site to earn money. I tried to persuade him not to go, as it wasn't safe. Later, a terrible incident occurred in the girls' dormitory. My boyfriend's roommate also had an accident at the construction site, leaving him with a crippled leg. On our wedding night, I was humiliated, he said with reddened eyes and indignation. "Lee Bowie, you brought this upon yourself. If you hadn't stopped me from working at the construction site, I could have protected Shinshin, and she wouldn't have jumped to her death from the unbearable blow, and my brother Lin Gung won't become disabled either. You'll have to taste the suffering Shinshin endured." Afterward, he ordered them to throw me off the unfinished high-rise building, and I was killed by the fall. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn, returning to the day my boyfriend was about to start his summer job. 1. Bowie, I'm staying at school for the summer break and planning to work at the construction site nearby. After all these years, I've never actually worked on a construction site. They say it's tough, but the pay is good. I want to see just how hard it can be. Why don't you come with me? Li Xinxin and the others from the dorm next door are also staying for part-time work. My boyfriend, Jiang Yixing, looked down at his phone while speaking to me. I leaned forward to get a better look, and after seeing the girl on his phone screen clearly, I withdrew back. It was indeed Li Xinxin. I just didn't know when he had started to like someone. In my previous life, after the wedding ceremony, Jiang Yixing didn't take me back to our marital home. Instead, he drove directly from the hotel to an unfinished building in the suburbs. I was still immersed in the joy of our new marriage, thinking he had prepared a surprise for me here. This romance was crafted just for me. Unexpectedly, his expression suddenly changed, and he grabbed my neck, shouting, "Shut up, you little bitch." Caught off guard by the sudden outburst, I trembled all over in fear. The red dress she hadn't had time to change was torn to shreds by Jiang Yixing. Only now do you know fear. Li Xinxin was even more terrified than you back then. She was timid and easily swayed, and just because she opened the dormitory door to let them in for a drink of water, she was bullied. How desperate must she have been when she jumped to her death? And there's Lin Gun. His father is disabled and can't work. His mother has uremia and needs dialysis at the hospital every month. They were counting on him to earn money from his summer job and come home, now that he's disabled. How is he supposed to live? It's all your fault. If I had gone with them, I would never have let anything happen to them. So, why do you get to be happier than them? It turns out he has always resented me for persuading him not to go work at the construction site for the summer job. He stuffed the torn gift skirt into my mouth, not allowing me to make a sound. Then, he dragged me into the unfinished building. He threw me into the middle, watching helplessly as I was bullied. I looked at him pleadingly, begging him to spare me at the last moment for the sake of our many years of feelings, but in his eyes, I saw not the slightest intention to stop. Afterward, he even had them throw me off the building. Even now, those terrifying scenes still linger in my mind. Ugh, what's wrong? Jiang Yixing, not receiving my response and hearing my retching, couldn't help but ask. I trembled slightly and said calmly, "It's fine, I won't go. I miss my parents, I plan to go home." "You insisted on going to deliver yourself to the enemy this time, so I won't stop you, too." Jiang Yixing's face darkened with uncertainty. For a long moment, he glared at me and said, "As my girlfriend, why didn't you stay and keep me company? Li Xinxin and the others all know how to earn money during the summer break. You're already this old, yet you're not as sensible as they are. Isn't it good to earn money outside, even though your family is well off? Your parents don't have an easy time making money either." I retorted, "I'm your girlfriend, not your mother. Do I have to accompany you even when you're working? If you think Li Xinxin is more sensible, you can go after her. My parents would rather see me than have me earn money. Besides, my parents don't even care about the money I make from part-time jobs. Working, not a chance. I'll never go out to work for someone else in this lifetime." Jiang Yixing, his furry face turned away in anger, snorted coldly, "What kind of nonsense are you talking? Do only your parents miss you? Do Li Xinxin's parents not miss her too? You're just relying on your family's wealth to act all high and mighty here. What's so impressive about having a rich family? The money you earn yourself is the real deal." I sneered coldly. "I'm not as arrogant as you. If you think working at a construction site for summer break makes you feel more superior, then go ahead. I respect you, and I hope to be a decent person who respects me in return, living a second life. I only regret that I was deceived by Jiang Yixing's appearance before. This person's mind is definitely problematic." I suddenly remembered some things from the past. Our two families lived on adjacent streets, but my family lived on the wealthy street. His family runs a fish stall locally, which can be considered a well-off household. He used to always criticize my family's financial situation. His words were always loaded with implications, thinking that my family made money from business, reeking of money, and that we weren't good people. It's just a few factories selling machinery and equipment, making a few dirty bucks as unscrupulous merchants. What's so great about that? I thought to myself, isn't your family also running a small business? What's with the high and mighty attitude here? Seeing that he couldn't persuade me, Jiang Yixing looked annoyed, picked up his phone, and walked away, leaving me behind. Free. In my previous life, it was at this moment that Jiang Yixing told Li Xinxin that I was the one who stopped him from staying, and she actively sought me out. I thought that this time, since I didn't stop Jiang Yixing, she wouldn't come looking for me. Yes, she still came, and she brought the others from her dormitory with her. "Bowie, our whole dorm has decided to stay. Why don't you join us and work at the construction site next door? Don't worry, we're girls. We won't have to work outdoors in the scorching heat like the boys do. We can work in the office, just helping with simple spreadsheets." Li Xinxin and her roommate, each with a word of encouragement, urged me to stay and work a summer job as well. Suppressing the doubts in my heart, I said coldly, "No, I'm going home." Li Xinxin's smile stiffened for a moment, and she continued to persuade me, "That's fine too, you can go back and play for a couple of days, then come back, it's all the same, we can wait for you." I turned and stared into her eyes for a long moment before saying, "What I mean is, I have no plans to work a summer job. Jiang Yixing and she are truly a perfect match, both having equally poor hearing." Thinking about the fates of the girls in the neighboring dormitory in my previous life, I couldn't help but feel a bit soft-hearted. If you want to work during the summer break, you can check out opportunities in the city center, or ask your seniors to introduce tutoring resources to you. These options are more suitable for you. Construction sites are filled with a group of grown men, and the personnel there are quite complex. It was never appropriate for a few girls who knew nothing about the dangers of the world to go, but Li Xinxin glared at me angrily and said disdainfully, "Can those summer jobs outside offer higher wages than the construction site, and it's right next to the school, making it convenient for us to commute? How can other summer jobs compare to such a good opportunity?" Li Xinxin's roommates all nodded in agreement. Seeing that I couldn't persuade them, I stopped being overly kind and let them go. "Anyway, I've said all that needed to be said." Li Xinxin angrily pulled her friend back to the dormitory. I closed the door and continued packing my luggage. According to Jiang Yixing, the construction site next door would have to wait until the summer vacation started, when most of the people at the school had left, before they could begin work. At this time, most of the people at the school had left, but even if they were to start work, they would still have to wait a couple of days. But when I went to open the door with my luggage, I found that it had been locked from the outside. I thought to myself, "This is not good. Could it be that someone is deliberately causing trouble?" I banged on the door, trying to catch the attention of anyone passing by in the hallway, but it was the middle of the day, and everyone was resting indoors, so the hallway was very quiet, for it remained quiet here until evening. Realizing I couldn't just wait like this, I quickly took out my phone and called Jiang Yixing. Before I could even speak, Jiang Yixing started cursing. "Li Baoi, you're so damn annoying. Yes, it was me who told Li Xinxin to persuade you to stay and work during the summer break. Are you going to report her too?" Without waiting for me to respond, he impatiently hung up the phone. I gritted my teeth, furious, and dialed again, but the other party had blocked me. I racked my brain, wondering who I could call at this hour to help me open the door, yet, recalling Li Xinxin's unusual behavior during the day, a sense of unease lingered in my heart. Perhaps it's a good thing that this door is closed, so I locked the door from the inside. That way, even if someone tries to open it from outside, they won't be able to get in. I took out the snacks I had hidden in the dorm and started eating, along with the instant noodles my roommate left behind. At this moment, I am in no hurry to open the door at all. It's like having a vacation in the dorm. I want to see what she's up to. Around 1 in the morning, I was awakened from my sleep by the sound of someone banging on the door. Then came Li Xinxin's impatient voice. "Li Baoi, open the door for me. Did you lock it from the inside? Why can't I open your dorm room door even though I have the key?" I paused, my expression faltering. How did she get the key to our dorm room? 5. My roommates, knowing there were no classes, had long since packed their bags and run home. Logically speaking, they are even more cautious about people than I am, so it's impossible for them to give a key to someone else. "Xiner, you're not trying to trick us, are you?" The voice, carrying a heavy accent and speaking in non-standard Mandarin, sent a shiver down my spine. Li Xinxin is indeed up to no good. In my previous life, at this time, I was already lying in bed at home. I didn't give Li Xinxin a chance to scheme. By the faint moonlight that had almost dissipated, I cautiously crawled to the front bunk until I could clearly see several burly men standing outside. Li Xinxin is comforting them. "Brother Wang, don't worry, there was a bit of an accident today. Wait a couple of days, and I promise you'll get what you want." The man yelled and refused to agree. Finally, their eyes darted around. They exchanged a few glances, and without a word, they began to lay hands on Li Xinxin. Li Xinxin struggled a few times, but the men didn't stop, so she screamed in fear, "My boyfriend is coming, and there are cameras in this hallway. If you lay a hand on me now, I guarantee you won't be able to work tomorrow." There were indeed cameras in the dormitory hallway. In her previous life, after the incident, the police had relied on the footage to find the perpetrators. As if to confirm Li Xinxin's words, Jiang Yixing arrived. He hurried over to Li Xinxin and angrily glanced at the men surrounding her. "Xiner, what happened?" Seeing this, the men realized they wouldn't be able to take advantage today and left in frustration. Li Xinxin flusteredly hid in Jiang Yixing's arms, looking pitiful. "I just wanted to ask a few big brothers to have a good chat with Baoi. I didn't have any other intentions, but Baoi just wouldn't open the door." The big brothers thought I was playing them and got angry with me. She tightly hugged Jiang Yixing's waist, nestling into his embrace like a little bird. Jiang Yixing felt heartbroken and comforted her repeatedly. It made me sick to my stomach. In the second life, I finally realized that these two had already gotten together behind my back. When I called him, he blocked me, but when Li Xinxin reached out to him, he was always at her beck and call. Their relationship is really good. So I wish you two stay together forever. 6. Jiang Yixing suddenly banged on my dormitory door. Li Baoi, get out here right now. Xinxin is being bullied outside and making such a big scene. Everyone can hear it. What are you pretending to be dead for? Axing, Baoi probably thought they were bad people and got scared, so she didn't dare to come out and help me, which made things difficult for me. I rolled my eyes, got out of bed, and opened the door. Li Xinxin, seeing the clarity in my gaze, guessed that I had heard everything from start to finish. With a grim expression, she grabbed Jiang Yixing's hand and shouted at me, "You're so cold-hearted. You knew I was being bullied outside, yet you didn't hurry to open the door. Is that how your parents taught you to behave?" Then, with an expression of having suffered a great injustice, she looked at Jiang Yixing, on the verge of tears but unable to cry. Jiang Yixing's eyes were filled with heartache as he reached out to protect her waist. Then, turning to look at me, his gaze immediately turned cold. "I've never seen a woman as cold and heartless as you. Fortunately, Xiner is unharmed, otherwise I would make you taste the pain she suffered." My face darkened. "In my previous life, you did exactly as you said," I sneered. "It's not too late for you to see it now." I paused, casting a disdainful glance at Li Xinxin. "If you have something to say, just say it. Why do you keep bringing up other people's parents? Is this some unique way your parents taught you? You brought this person here yourself. You couldn't handle being bullied, so you blame me. Do you have any shame?" Li Xinxin was so angry she rolled her eyes. "You." In the end, she could only manage to say, "You're really going too far with your words." 7. Going too far. Could you be any worse? Jiang Yixing chimed in. "How come I never noticed before that your mouth is so sharp?" "Ha, who can you blame for that? Isn't it all because you were blind and foolish, bringing this trouble upon yourself?" Li Xinxin, nestled in Jiang Yixing's arms, cried even more pitifully. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought I was the one who had just bullied her. Jiang Yixing comforted her. "All right, don't cry anymore. It's a good thing you knew to call and tell me, and nothing serious happened. But it's really not appropriate for you to come to the girls' dormitory alone with so many men. You brought people here out of good intentions to persuade her to stay, but she doesn't appreciate it at all. It's better to do less of this kind of thing in the future. How come I never noticed before that Jiang Yixing has a screw loose? Who in their right mind would bring a bunch of sleazy guys to someone's dormitory in the middle of the night to talk them into staying? Even a dog wouldn't believe that excuse, yet he believes it." From an angle Jiang Yixing couldn't see, Li Xinxin stared straight at me, her eyes filled with provocation and smugness. I glanced down at the time, thinking to myself that the person should be arriving soon. Looking up again, I saw the two of them practically glued to each other with their gazes. What a turn-off. Witness the birth of a fool. I couldn't help but sneer. Jiang Yixing turned around angrily, as if he had reached his limit of tolerance for me. "Are you insulting me?" I tugged at the corner of my mouth. "It's rare that you still have some self-awareness." Jiang Yixing's face darkened as he approached me, reaching out to strike me. I dodged swiftly and, before his hand could reach my face, slapped him hard across the cheek. "My parents raised me to this age, and no one has ever laid a hand on my face until now. He's a brainless idiot. What gives him the right to hit me?" Jiang Yixing's face twisted with rage, his voice sharp and severe. "Li Baoi, how dare you hit me, before the police arrive? I'm hitting you right now." I curiously touched my nose. "Wasn't it you who tried to hit me? I just couldn't dodge in time and accidentally bumped into your face, right?" I silently took a step back, suddenly changed my expression, and pretended to be heartbroken. "If you've fallen for someone else and want to break up with me, just say it, I'll agree. But why do you have to destroy me?" Jiang Yixing didn't react immediately, looking a bit confused. "Destroy you? When did I ever say I wanted to destroy you?" At that moment, two people in uniforms had already reached the middle of the hallway. 8. I pretended not to see them, sniffled, and my eyes turned slightly red. "You had Li Xinxin bring people over just to ruin me, didn't you?" As the police approached, I burst into tears. "You may have no shame, but I still have my dignity. Not sleeping in the middle of the night, bringing a few burly men to knock on my dormitory door. What kind of intentions do you have? Do I even need to spell it out? If I weren't so timid and hadn't dared to open the door, what the consequences would have been, you know perfectly well." "Officer, I want to report them." I ran behind the police officer and continued to lodge my complaint. The evidence is in the hallway surveillance footage. This despicable couple, they conspired together, locked me in the dormitory today, and then, when night fell, even brought a few burly men to try to harm me in our dorm. Finally, I shouted out loud, "Jiang Yixing, I want to break up with you." Jiang Yixing was stunned with anger. He looked at the police, then he stared blankly at Li Xinxin, and finally turned back to the police. "Don't listen to her nonsense. It's not true." Li Xinxin panicked. "Li Baoi, why did you call the police?" I looked at them with pity. Of course, I was doing a good deed, eliminating harm for the people. After the police checked the surveillance footage, they took these two back for questioning. The two of them were so anxious they were fuming, explaining to the police while turning their gaze toward me, cursing a few times. It was a chaotic and busy scene, watching them get into the police car. I was in a great mood, humming a tune. I leisurely walked back to the dorm to catch up on sleep. 9. At 5 in the afternoon, while the two despicable individuals were still within the detention period and hadn't been released, I finally boarded the plane home. When my parents found out I was back, they personally came to the airport to pick me up, living a second life. Seeing my parents again, my eyes welled up with tears, and I hugged them tightly, unwilling to let go. The daughter who had just been married was tragically killed on the street, from heaven to hell. It happened overnight. Such a huge fall. I don't know how they spent the rest of their lives. We're still outside. What's the point of crying and clinging to us like this? My dad chided affectionately. Mom immediately shot Dad a glare and complained, "Oh, come on, she just missed us. Why are you scolding her? Honestly, if you don't want to hug her." "I'll do it," I chuckled foolishly, not taking it to heart, and continued holding on to both of them without letting go. In my previous life, when I was with Jiang Yixing, although my parents never said it outright, I knew they weren't entirely satisfied with their son-in-law. They couldn't bear to see me sad, so they reluctantly accepted Jiang Yixing. To give him a respectable appearance, they even bought him a detached villa before the wedding, along with a large apartment in the city center. On the wedding day, many people thought I had married well. They just didn't know that the seemingly comfortable life was actually funded by my parents. None of this satisfied Jiang Yixing and his family. The day before the wedding, they forced my parents to add 20 million in dowry. Looking back now, he must have been worried that after I died, he wouldn't be able to get it from my parents, so he made the demand at the last moment. The wedding venue was already prepared, and relatives and friends had been notified in advance. Suddenly faced with this situation, my parents had to compromise. Considering my reputation and the pressure, I can only blame my past self for being too foolish and not waking up in time. I stayed at home for 2 days before receiving a call from my boyfriend's roommate. He said that Jiang Yixing was in trouble. 10. On the second day after returning home, the two of them were released. The outcome was within my expectations, after all. No serious consequences occurred, so going through the formalities should be enough to get out. I reported it to the police just to draw their attention, especially Li Xinxin's, because I suspect she has been reborn. I took a flight back that same afternoon. His roommate was so anxious that he was sweating profusely, standing at the entrance of the construction site for several hours. He saw my figure and hurried over, apologizing. "Xing insisted that you come. I had no choice." I looked up at the steel and concrete scattered everywhere, and the high-rise building rising in the distance. Suddenly, I didn't feel like taking another step forward. How is he doing now? The phone call didn't clarify, so I asked again. My roommate sighed and said, "The situation is not good. His leg is still stuck in the steel bar, and his hand is also pierced through. Many people at the scene are trying to figure out how to rescue him." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. In the previous life, it was his roommate who got into trouble, but now, it's him. Life is unpredictable, but it's all his own doing. Hearing this news, I felt no emotional fluctuation inside, only a trace of curiosity remained, wondering what kind of ending he would have this time. 11. I followed his roommate all the way over, and sure enough, I saw many people gathered here, not far away. An ambulance was parked. When I saw Jiang Yixing's situation clearly, I was shocked and stood frozen in place. Logically speaking, if someone falls from a height on a construction site and gets impaled, you just need to use tools to remove the rebar that's stuck inside. However, Jiang Yixing's situation was somewhat special. He was hanging in midair, surrounded by rebar. The rebar was inserted right near the major artery in his thigh. If the person handling it had been even slightly off, it could have injured his major artery, which could easily have been fatal. I can only say that Jiang Yixing was quite lucky. With hundreds of steel bars standing upright, he was fortunate to still be alive after falling. Firefighters, holding tools, surrounded him under the scorching sun. 3 hours had already been wasted from the time he was discovered to when help was called. It is said that initially, the people at the construction site were unwilling to call the police. Jiang Yixing had been hanging high in the air for a long time, shouting and screaming. which caught the attention of people outside, and only then was the police called. Li Xinxin found a shady spot to stand, her gaze occasionally falling on Jiang Yixing suspended in midair. There was not a hint of anxiety on his face. It was already 4:15 in the afternoon. Li Xinxin saw me, her eyes flickered, and she unconsciously took a few steps back. In the next moment, Jiang Yixing let out a startled cry. His roommate shouted loudly, "Brother Xing, Li Baoyi is here, you can rest assured. No matter how much the treatment costs, someone will cover it for you." I was stunned for a moment, only then did I realize the real reason he said on the phone that I absolutely had to come. I was so angry I laughed. In Jiang Yixing's mind, I am nothing but an on-call ATM. In my memory, when I was with him, indeed most of the expenses during our dates came out of my pocket. I guess he must have bragged a lot in front of his roommates. 12. Jiang Yixing's scream pulled me back to reality. The people around burst into cheers. I saw his hand being pulled out. It was dripping with blood, dropping from above. It looked glaring under the sunlight. He fainted from the pain. Immediately, the rescuers began working on his upper thigh. During this time, the process became even more prolonged. After much struggle, he was jolted awake by the pain several times. Screams continued to ring out, his features contorted. Several times, the pain overwhelmed him, and he cried out with a heart-wrenching scream. I couldn't help but wonder, is this the outcome you wanted? After Jiang Yixing was brought down, he was quickly moved to an ambulance. Seeing that I wasn't following, his roommate pointed at me and shouted, "Li Baoyi, hurry up and get in the ambulance. Jiang Yixing has no money on him. You're his girlfriend, only you have the money." The gazes of everyone around turned toward me. Li Xinxin urgently shouted, "Yes, it's only natural for a girlfriend to pay her boyfriend's medical bills." Inside, the nurse thought we were taking too long and wasting time, yelling loudly, "Hurry up, if you're getting on the bus, follow quickly." I coldly met each of their eyes one by one. Jiang Yixing's girlfriend is now Li Xinxin. I am a thing of the past. What if Jiang Yixing wakes up and doesn't see Li Xinxin, gets angry, and hurts himself? As for medical expenses, let his current girlfriend pay for them. Li Xinxin gritted her teeth and shook her head. "I don't have any money, Baoyi, don't misunderstand. I have nothing to do with him." Li Xinxin's gaze inadvertently drifted toward the back. I frowned slightly and looked over. Isn't that the handsome guy from the school next door? From what I remember, the rumors about him are that he likes men and even got into a fight over a guy, which landed him in trouble. Did Li Xinxin give up on Jiang Yixing and turn her attention to him instead? I sneered. Is it okay for you to hug each other at the dormitory entrance for half a day? In the end, I was still pushed into the ambulance by Jiang Yixing's roommate. The reason was that Li Xinxin truly had no money on hand. I sneered, calling Jiang Yixing's parents from the ambulance. I informed them to come to the hospital. If they didn't, their son would die. I rarely contacted Jiang Yixing's parents, and he tried his best to keep me from connecting with them, but in my past life, his parents chose to stir up trouble right before the wedding, which shows they weren't good people either. When his parents received the call, they initially thought I was a scammer. It wasn't until they heard the nurse's voice beside me that they hung up the phone, still half in doubt. When we arrived at the hospital and I saw Jiang Yixing being taken inside, I left. I didn't want to care whether his parents would eventually come or not. Anyway, that person's business has long been none of my concern. 13. Early the next morning, the police came to my door, wanting to take me back for questioning. When I arrived, I found that Jiang Yixing's roommate was also there. He looked somewhat flustered, and upon seeing me, his gaze flickered away. I didn't understand what he meant. After being taken in, I answered whatever the police asked. After asking, the police said, "They all suspect that because of you, he was targeted by people at the construction site. When he went up, they tampered with things, and his safety belt wasn't properly fastened, nearly costing him his life." I remained calm. "That's nonsense. I don't know anyone from the construction site." It was Li Xinxin who had contact with them from start to finish. Also, can people on the construction site intentionally harm others' lives just because they want to target someone? This matter, no matter how it's involved, has little to do with me. The person you should be looking for is Li Xinxin. She is familiar with a certain brother Wang at the construction site, and she took her roommate there to work a summer job. The police chief sighed deeply. "I'm not saying it's related to you. We want to understand the entire course of the case. So we'd like to get some information from you. You mentioned Li Xinxin, but when we went to look for her, she was nowhere to be found. Her roommate also got into trouble, and the nature of the incident is extremely malicious, so we had to call you in to ask for some details." I exclaimed in surprise. "Can't find Li Xinxin. Could it be that she's hiding out of guilt?" When the incident happened, I had already gone home, so I don't know the specifics. I was called over by Jiang Yixing's roommate. The police officer nodded. We understand. We checked the surveillance footage, and his roommate was also at the scene when the incident occurred. That guy is a real piece of work, and he calls himself a roommate. He saw the construction workers tampering with the safety lock from below and deliberately avoided it, letting Jiang Yixing go up instead. No wonder his expression seemed off when he saw me just now, at this moment. I don't even know what to say. 14. So, are there any other doubts about this case? I asked. The police officer thought for a moment. Later, we'll need you to testify. This case is complex and has significant impact, so we need to understand every detail clearly. We hope you'll cooperate when the time comes. I nodded in agreement. No problem, I'm willing to cooperate. When I left the police station, I accidentally overheard the conversation inside. The people at the construction site refused to admit their guilt, claiming that the college students had gone willingly. However, several girls firmly insisted that they had not gone voluntarily. They had been called by Li Xinxin without prior knowledge. In my previous life, Li Xinxin was also humiliated by the people at the construction site. I became even more certain that she must have been reborn. After returning, I asked a friend to look into it. I discovered that this construction site was a subsidiary of the Fu Group. My mind felt like it exploded, and everything suddenly made sense. In other words, this construction site is a project of the Fu family, the family of the school heartthrob from the neighboring school, the young Master Fu. No wonder he appeared at the rescue scene and caught Li Xinxin's attention. It seems that Li Xinxin, who has been reborn, has taken a liking to the young master of the Fu family. In your previous life, you were safe and sound, yet you blamed everything on me and sought revenge against me for their sake. This time, both your good roommate and Li Xinxin betrayed you. 15. Jiang Yixing's hand is crippled. The injury on his leg will keep him bedridden for at least half a year. It is said that after learning this news, he has been going crazy in the hospital every day. He couldn't stand the sight of anyone. Whenever someone entered the ward, he would throw things with his other intact hand. His parents didn't stay at the hospital for long before they came to the school to cause trouble. First, they went to the principal's office, demanding an explanation. After being escorted away by the police who arrived, they bought a drum and went to the construction site to bang on it. Heartless construction site, give me back my son's hand, give me back my son's leg. After shouting at the entrance of the construction site for half an hour, he was pushed up by the people inside. After making a fuss for several days, he still didn't get a satisfactory result. His parents then turned their anger toward me. Li Baoi, it's all your fault that my son ended up like this. I'm going to fight you to the death. I stood in the crowd, watching as Jiang Yixing's mother lunged toward me. I quickly reacted and dodged to the right. You still have the nerve to hide, his mother said coldly, her voice filled with anger. Frowning, I sneered. Why shouldn't I hide? It was your son who chose to work a summer job. What does his accident have to do with me? Blame the heavens or the earth, but don't blame me. His mother jumped up and roared. You're his girlfriend. If you had stopped him from going and given him some money to spend, would he have risked his life working for such a small amount? Do you have any idea how dangerous it is to work on a construction site? It's scorching hot, and you have to work at heights under the blazing sun. If you're not careful for even a moment, you could fall. If he hadn't been in a relationship with you and short on money, why would he have taken a summer job? Sure enough, the whole family thinks the same way. They always like to shift the blame onto others. I braced myself and said coldly, first, I've already broken up with him. There's nothing between us anymore. Second, during the time we were together, I was the one who paid for almost everything. He would only make sarcastic remarks about how much money I had. He's the one who freeloads shamelessly, and he's the one who should feel ashamed. Third, he took the summer job not because of me, but because of Li Xinxin. Lastly, this is a school, and someone has already gone to call security. If you dare to lay a hand on me here this time, I will definitely pursue the matter to the fullest extent without any regard for past ties. His mother stood frozen in place, her eyes nearly popping out of her head. She hadn't expected my attitude to be so resolute. I can see now, Zhang's parents still think I'm in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with their son. What? You broke up? Li Xinxin, where is she? Is she the little bitch who harmed my son? Later, the two were escorted out by the security guards who arrived. 16. From that day on, Jiang Yixing's parents waited at the school gate every day, hoping for Li Xinxin to appear. However, it wasn't until the day of the trial that Li Xinxin was officially brought out. It is estimated that she had been detained long before. The trial lasted for 6 hours. The people at the construction site explained that Li Xinxin took the initiative to approach the project manager in charge of them. She proposed that for half the daily wage of an ordinary construction worker, she would help the site recruit laborers for each person she found. She demanded the construction site pay her 1,000 yuan. Her roommates accused Li Xinxin of also demanding money from them. As long as each of them gave 500, she would help introduce them to work at the construction site. In other words, for going to the construction site to work during the summer vacation, Li Xinxin collected money from both sides. On the surface, it seemed like she was doing a good deed and helping others, but in reality, she was seeking personal gain. Li Xinxin found a total of 12 people to work during the summer vacation. Of course, to deceive Jiang Yixing, she didn't take the money directly but still managed to get it out of his pocket through other means. But later, the project manager at the construction site didn't want to settle her payment in advance. In order to please the project manager, Li Xinxin brought people to my dormitory, intending to offer me to them. After all, Jiang Yixing was the most attentive among her backup options, and I am his girlfriend, but things didn't go according to her plan, and because of this, she and Jiang Yixing offended the people at the construction site. After that, she had no choice but to go and apologize to them, the project manager explained. She stopped me as I was leaving work, wanting to apologize. I didn't accept it and told her not to come again. As far as our cooperation with her is concerned, let's just pretend it never happened, but she didn't accept that and even promised to fulfill our wishes. By the way, she also made a request to introduce her to my little nephew. I have no idea who told her that the young master of the Fu family is my nephew. She deliberately deceived her roommate, tricking her into going to the construction site office. At first, Li Xinxin did not admit it in court until the other party presented surveillance footage. Her several visits to the office to discuss cooperation with others were clearly heard in the conversations. Jiang Yixing sat in a wheelchair, his face pale and his gaze dark as he stared at Li Xinxin. Did you know from the beginning that they planned to set me up and make me fall? You knew about their plan in advance, and you didn't tell me. Li Xinxin was frightened by his gaze and lowered her head, saying, I was too scared to tell you at the time, and I already warned you. I told you to be careful the next day. Who knew you insisted on showing off and going up there? Jiang Yixing struggled to his feet and threw the water cup in his hand at Li Xinxin. He shouted, Is this what you call a reminder? I've been so good to you, and this is how you treat me. I regretted it halfway and didn't want to go anymore, but it was you who said that if I went, you would be with me. But you only wanted to fill the quota so you could get the money. Now you've taken a liking to the young master of the Fu family next door, and you want to see me in trouble so you can push me aside. Is that it? The water cup hit Li Xinxin right on the head. She quickly stepped back a few paces, covering her head and shouting, What's wrong with you? Didn't your roommate also see that the chain had been tampered with? He didn't tell you either. Meanwhile, her roommates, who had long been furious and had been holding back, also joined in the verbal abuse against Li Xinxin. The scene was chaotic, with various screams, piercing shouts, and curses rising and falling. Finally, Li Xinxin erupted. She glared angrily at the staff present and demanded, People are hitting and cursing each other here. Why aren't you stepping in to stop it? The staff could only issue a few simple reprimands, and the scene finally quieted down again. 17. Due to the complexity of the case, the court chose to announce the verdict at a later date. However, with all the witnesses and evidence in place and the facts clear, no one can escape the punishment they deserve. After it ended, at the entrance, I bumped into Jiang Yixing. His eyes flickered, and he forced a stiff smile, saying, Bowie, thank you for testifying in court for me. I replied quietly, Don't misunderstand, I didn't come for you. Besides, I've already broken up with you. These strange, boundary-crossing words, you'd better not say them anymore. Jiang Yixing's face darkened, his gaze burning as he looked at me. I'm already like this now. Can you bear to be so cold to me? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Jiang Yixing, what makes you think I would still be soft-hearted for you now, right? I'm already a cripple, and I almost truly hurt you. How could you forgive me? I didn't speak. The next second, Jiang Yixing lunged at me like a madman, but I'm innocent too. I was deceived by Li Xinxin. I know I made a mistake that anyone could make. Why won't you forgive me? Was everything you did for me fake too? When I was in the hospital, you didn't even pay my medical bills. Jiang Yixing's accusations were utterly baffling. I took several steps back, and as he stumbled toward me in his frenzy, I lifted my foot and kicked him right in his injured thigh. A person with useless hands and feet dares to lay a hand on me. Ah, bang, a sound. Jiang Yixing's thigh began to bleed. You're an adult now. You have to take responsibility for your actions. Just because you did something wrong doesn't mean others have to forgive you. Do you think you're worth me spending money on you like this? I sneered without mercy. The commotion was so loud that it drew the attention of everyone around, including his parents. The two of them saw their son lying on the ground in a sorry state, his wounds reopened, and then saw me retract my foot. Furious, he lunged at me, spitting out threats. Li Baoyi, I'm going to kill you today, but what do they think this place is? There are law enforcement officers maintaining order everywhere. How could they be allowed to act recklessly here? Before the two of them could even reach me, they were already being restrained. They were not convinced. Their feet struggling in the air a few times. If looks could kill, I would have been riddled with holes long ago. Why aren't you arresting her? She hurt my son. Are you blind and didn't see it? Mother Jiang shouted and screamed. I sneered. Sorry, that was self-defense just now. Your son threw the first punch. Jiang Yixing should be grateful that this isn't a place where he can act recklessly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have just gotten kicked by me. Having been reborn, I will only cherish this hard-won life and will never let them hurt me again. 18. The entire hall was filled with the angry and resentful clamor of Jiang Yixing and his parents, and soon they were escorted out. Li Xinxin stood by, gloating as she watched the drama unfold. It wasn't until she noticed my gaze that her eyes turned red, and she suddenly cried out resentfully, Li Baoyi, it should have been you who died. I sneered. Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm perfectly fine now. She gritted her teeth and said, don't get too cocky, I'll just be in there for a decade or so, and when I come out, I can still live a normal life. You, on the other hand, are different, believe it or not, it won't be long before you die. According to the timeline from my previous life, I did indeed die later on. I rolled my eyes and walked up to her, leaning close to her ear. He whispered, I am indeed different from you. Even after being reborn, you still ended up walking a path of no return. At this point, do you still have confidence in yourself, hoping that the young master of the Fu family will step forward to save you? Li Xinxin was shocked. You are also reborn. In an instant, she retorted defiantly, Fu Hun, you promised me. He said that as long as I came forward to confess and reduce the responsibility of the construction site and the pressure of public opinion, he would help me. I sneered coldly. You and Jiang Yixing are the same kind of people, both of you crave things that don't belong to you, and you even take pride in being fooled and led around by the nose for it. After saying that, I strode toward the main door. Behind me, her unwilling, questioning voice faintly drifted over. I could only reply in my heart, if you don't understand the rules of a certain circle, don't casually get close to the people in that circle. Otherwise, you can only become a laughingstock for others. 19. After the start of the school term, after a big argument with his roommate at school, Jiang Yixing got into a fight with him, breaking one of the other person's legs. One of his hands couldn't exert force, so he had to use the other one. With a pair of inflexible legs, he went crazy in the dormitory, scaring everyone in the entire building. In his view, with one hand gone and his legs unlikely to return to their former state, he had become useless. He felt that everyone looked down on him. His temper grew increasingly irritable, and whenever he noticed people looking at him on the street, he would assume they were giving him strange looks. He ran out of the school, cursing all the way. He blamed everything on others. It was his backstabbing roommate. It was Li Xinxin's parents. He rushed to Li Xinxin's parents' house. He raised the knife, lunged at the other party, ready to deliver a fatal blow. You raised such a good daughter. If you don't teach her properly, then don't let her out to harm others. Unfortunately, he could only use one hand, and his leg movements were slow, so he was quickly overpowered by Li's father. Jiang Yixing died just like that at Li Xinxin's home. Later, Li's father was arrested. Zhang's parents cried their hearts out, demanding the death penalty for the other party. However, Jiang Yixing had broken into the home to commit the crime, which could only be considered excessive self-defense, and he could be released after a few years of imprisonment. They refused to accept this and repeatedly caused disturbances in public, continuously appealing the decision. No matter how much fuss was made, the final outcome remained unchanged. 20. The matter came to a temporary close. After graduating from university, my family began arranging blind dates for me. My first blind date turned out to be Fu Hengyu. I smiled. He left after just a few minutes, having lived 2 lives. I have heard a bit about the Fu family. The Fu family is a deep and treacherous place, and Fu Hengyu has no interest in women, but they have their own schemes. In such a family, anyone who enters will have to shed several layers of skin. Moreover, I want to stay away from anything that has even the slightest connection to my past life. Fu Hengyu deceived Li Xinxin, and she won't be the last woman he deceives. There will be many more women in the future, rushing to be deceived. Such a person can only be kept at a respectful distance. We all tacitly understood and found our own excuses after returning home, starting the next blind date. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.